This is a 28storms.com Tropical Storm Don update at this early morning hour of Thursday, July 28th. As of the official National Hurricane Center 4 a.m. advisory, Tropical Storm Don is packing maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 1,000 millibars. It's moving off toward the west-northwest at 10 miles per hour. The latest forecast is now showing a landfall at around 1 a.m. Saturday morning, so the models have slowed down a little bit, and so has the official forecast. And also the track has been shifted ever so slightly to the south of Corpus Christi. The track is now directly between Baffin Bay and Corpus Christi Bay. As a result, the tropical storm watch has been extended southward toward the Texas-Mexican border, so all interests along the lower to middle half of the Texas coastline should be prepared for tropical storm force conditions within the next 2 days. Once again, these are tropical storm watches, but they will more than likely be upgraded to warnings later this morning or in the afternoon. Don is now expected to make landfall with maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. This is down ever so slightly from the 10 p.m. forecast that indicated a 65 mile per hour peak intensity. One other observation this morning is that we've seen a bit more of a consolidation amongst some of the model tracks. If you recall, yesterday we had several model members taking this as far north as Houston and Galveston. In fact, there were even a couple model solutions that took this into extreme southwest Louisiana. But the model consensus is now in strong agreement with the official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. And if you live anywhere near Corpus Christi or points immediately to the south, this is the model consensus right here. But don't get too caught up in exactly where the center is going to pass. Although this is a fairly small storm, some of the outer bands will still be packing a punch, and much of the middle to lower half of Texas can expect gusty conditions and occasionally heavy rainfall at the very least. So once again, just don't get overly caught up in exactly where the center passes. Now, as stated earlier, the official Hurricane Center intensity forecast has been decreased ever so slightly, and that's as a result of some of these intensity model guidance members being a little bit more pessimistic with the overall development of our storm. Some of the models were showing a peak intensity of about 55 knots yesterday, and now you can see that much of them keep this maxed out at nothing more than about 50 knots within the next 48 hours. And by the way, these two models do not take land into account, so this storm will be over the Texas coast and moving inland by the time these models show any development toward a borderline Category 1 hurricane. So the consensus really doesn't show much more strengthening beyond a moderate 50-knot tropical storm at this point. During the initial overnight hours, we began to see a reduction in the overall convection surrounding the low-level center, and this could be a result of several reasons. First off, we have slightly cooler water temperatures along the northern half of the Yucatan Peninsula. I'll show you a graphic of that in just a moment. Also, if you notice, there was some diurnal convection that is very typical for this time of the year. It forms over the Yucatan during the day, and that could have disrupted the center and the convection near the center just a little bit. And also, we do have the presence of some mid to upper level dry air. So all three of those factors could have contributed to the reduction in convection. Despite this, an ASCAT pass taken just a few hours ago indicated that the low-level center still looks fairly healthy and located fairly close to the strongest cloud tops, so the storm still appears to be organized enough to take advantage of some of the more favorable upper-level conditions later this morning and into the afternoon hours. Here is the graphic that indicates slightly cooler water temperatures here along the northern half of the Yucatan coast. In fact, these are slightly below 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so not the most favorable territory here. But the low-level center is moving into steadily warmer waters here over the next 24 hours. If we go back to the infrared animation for just a moment, we see that convection is already beginning to increase once again near the low-level center. But with all that being said, due to the lowered or more pessimistic model intensity forecast combined with the latest water vapor imagery, I'm growing more confident that Don will remain below Category 1 hurricane status. And here is the water vapor. If we look really closely, we see that there is an upper level low just to the south of Brownsville, Texas, and there's a second upper level low now beginning to enter the eastern Gulf of Mexico out of the Florida Peninsula. And directly in the middle of these two upper level features is a very small pocket of favorable ridging aloft, which is helping to ventilate our tropical storm right here in the middle in the south central Gulf of Mexico. But notice how these two upper level lows are starting to place a squeeze on our tropical cyclone, and storms do not like this. They like to have a really broad upper level ridge that will help ventilate the storm in all quadrants. And I tell you what, that upper level low coming out of Florida seems to be moving in from the east rather fast here, and I fully suspect that the upper level pocket of ridging may become a little bit more narrowed here as we go into time. And this is just not the most favorable looking pattern here, and it looks like the models yesterday were slightly overdoing the favorable conditions, and even if they're showing favorable conditions over the next 48 hours, I'm starting to doubt those outlooks just a little bit here based on the latest water vapor representation. So just to say things one more time, I really do not see this becoming a hurricane. So more than likely, Tropical Storm Don can be more of a beneficial thing for Texas instead of a nuisance. As we all know by now, Texas is in extreme need of rainfall. The entire state is experiencing extreme drought conditions. It looks a little bit better on the map here near Brownsville, Texas, and that's actually as a result of Tropical Storm Arlene. As you know, that came in earlier this season. It passed well to the south of Brownsville, Texas, but one of the outer bands went over Brownsville. It gave you about 5 inches of rain. It actually came down fast enough to provide some street flooding here, which is something that we don't like to see, but it did help to mitigate the drought ever so slightly, and I fully suspect that Tropical Storm Don will help to do the same thing, if not add to even more rainfall than Tropical Storm Arlene did, especially as we get further north around Corpus Christi. Now, of course, we don't want the rain to all come at once, and there will be the threat of some isolated street flooding, but overall this could be more of a beneficial thing for Texas. This is the 3-day precipitation forecast from the Hydrometeorological Prediction Center, and they are forecasting in excess of 2 to 4 inches in and around the Corpus Christi metro, and this extends inland a pretty good ways here. The track of the storm is expected to be just to the south of this, and they expect the strongest swath of heavy precipitation to be just to the north of the center. Now, overall, I really expect that this is going to be a non-event more than anything for Houston and Galveston. The tropical storm force winds should remain well to your south, and you may see 1 to 2 inches of rainfall from this if you get under one of the stronger outer bands, if it makes it that far north, but that's really the extent of it. You may see some wind gusts in excess of about 20 to 30, possibly 40 miles per hour, but that's really about it. And of course, one last thing I forgot to mention is there will be the threat of some coastal flooding, especially along some of those barrier islands, but that comes with the territory. Hopefully everyone down there is ready for that type of thing. And that's your update for this morning. We'll go ahead and post another video analysis sometime later this afternoon, and that video will also include more information about other tropical disturbances out in the central and eastern Atlantic. So that's your tropical weather update. Thanks for checking out 28storms.com, and we'll see you again right here very soon.